So you can see behind me, I have some beautiful lush potted plants that are not pot bound and that I've cared for all summer long, and they look great. But in front of me are two sort of sad looking plants that I haven't given as much care. These have become pot bound and they're not getting the water and nutrients they need, even if when I feed and water them a lot. So what I need to do is tend to their roots, upgrade their pots, feed them and prune them back a bit, and in no time these will look great and beautiful again when I bring them indoors for winter. So let me show you how that's done. So here I'm doing a close-up of my ginger and my geranium, and I want to talk a little bit about pot selection. So for my edible ginger, which I'm going to bring into my kitchen, I've selected a pot that's a little more utilitarian, that automatically has a self-watering base, so it will be, it'll look very nice in my kitchen window. And you can see that it's considerably larger than the original pot. I choose pots that are both deeper and also at least 2 inches in diameter, larger than the original pots. And for my geranium, I've chosen a more ornamental pot because I'm going to upgrade this and keep this in a very nice spot in my living room. So I want it to look really nice. This, when it's happy, has large, beautiful purple and green leaves and bright orange-red flowers. So once I get this taken care of, it should look really great. So now let's show how to take care of a root-bound plant and pot it up. So I've wrangled my pot-bound ginger out of its pot, and you can see what I'm dealing with. These roots were so dense that they actually grew through the holes. They're trying to reach out. So when you have a pot-bound plant like this, there are several things that you need to do. First of all, you need to take some sharp shears. I have a couple of pairs here. You could also use a garden knife or a sharp trowel, and you want to cut the roots. I usually cut in 4 spots around the edges. And then what you do is you loosen those roots. So when they grow into the new soil, they'll be growing out into the new soil rather than twining in on themselves. You will get a little root loss in this process, but don't worry, this plant is going to be much happier after you've loosened its roots. And so next, I'm going to plant this plant that's got the roots that I've loosened. I'm going to get it in its pot and show you the planting process. So now all my roots are loosened. This plant looks great. So the next thing I'm going to do is pot it up. I put a little soil in the bottom. You want to put soil in enough so that when you fill this in, you have enough, about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of head space to for watering. So what I'm going to do is I've got my black gold natural and organic potting soil, which is OMRI listed for organic gardening, so I know this is good, especially for my edible plants here. Often for ornamentals, I'll use black gold all-purpose potting mix, but for my edibles, I always prefer to use black gold natural and organic. And what I'm doing is filling it in along the sides and tamping it down to make sure that I have no air pockets, and I make sure that this plant is centered in the pot, which is also really important, so you have good root growth all around. And I fill it in and tamp it down and firm it up until I've got about 1 inch of head space at the top. And then I follow the manufacturer's recommendation, and here I'm putting about a tablespoon of slow release fertilizer in there to make sure that it gets the nutrients it needs, and I add a little more soil and work that down a little bit. So finally, my last step, I'm going to clean up. You can see there's some brown leaves on this plant. So anything that doesn't look good, I'm going to remove. So I'll take my clippers and just prune out some of those browning leaves that aren't doing the plant any good. And ultimately, you can see there's a lot of brown here. Ultimately, the overall plant is going to be looking a lot better, and this will also encourage new growth as well as better looks. So in the end, I'm going to have a plant that looks a lot smaller, but that's not a problem, because by winter time, and right now it's late summer, it's going to look really good. You can see I'm pruning off quite a bit, taking off all of that brown and leaving just a little bit of growth for this to pop back. Just sort of smooth that out a little. There. So, and as a final step, it's looking pretty good. As a final step, I'm going to water this in with all of its food. I want to make sure I water it in until the water goes all the way to the bottom. This is self-watering, so it has a chamber in the bottom that holds that water. And the black old natural and organic potting soil soaks up water well. So I know that water is going to reach the bottom. It's very porous. And so that's pretty much all I do to transplant my new or an old root-bound potted plant. And as I said, by winter this is going to be beautiful, and next I'm going to take care of my geranium. Do the same thing. So here you see I've cleaned things up a bit. I've repotted my ginger. I've repotted my beautiful geranium. This one is called Vancouver Centennial, and in just a couple of months its leaves should be a lot larger and it will be covered with beautiful orange-red flowers. So that will really brighten up my winter indoors. And I also wanted to mention I bought a beautiful jasmine, very fragrant plant to bring inside as well. And generally when you buy new house plants, they're not that pot bound, or not pot bound at all, but boy, when I looked at this or tried to get it out of the pot, I noticed it was really, really pot bound. So sometimes you'll have to do this with new potted plants as well. So I'm going to treat this as I did these two, pot it up, and this winter my indoors should be filled with wonderful, fragrant, beautiful plants that I can enjoy through the cold winter months. So happy transplanting and happy gardening.